Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of The Inside Track, Equibase's weekly handicapping podcast, where we give our analysis, picks, and wagers for a couple of the weekend's top races. I'm your host, Ben Kudla, and today I'm joined by a very special guest, 2021 Eclipse Award winner and co-founder of In the Money Media, which creates In the Money Players podcast, as well as a collection of horse racing and gambling content. Thank you so much for being on, Pete. It's been great to have you on in the past, so welcome back.
It's a great pleasure, my friend. I've been enjoying the work that you've been doing on your airwaves. We got to return the favor soon, do a little home and home action. Have you come and visit us?
Absolutely. I would love to be on anytime. So, I appreciate the kind words about the Inside Track. It's just been such a fun year doing this and just my favorite thing in the world, talking horses and meeting fantastic new people like yourself. So it's all been great. And be sure to follow In the Money Media on X and Facebook as well. Hit that like and subscribe button on their YouTube channel at In the Money Media Network. I promise you will not be disappointed. So it's been a while since you're on the show. I think you're on for that Queen Elizabeth II Stakes week back in October at Keeneland. So what we've seen so far with the Derby, a lot has changed. We got 72 days until the 151st running of the Kentucky Derby. So if you had to make one bet today, regardless of the odds, but I know you might bring it up, who would it be?
Well, it's interesting. It's kind of a cloudy picture, right? And a lot of the horses who'd be the consensus top of the market, I can't argue with them being there, but I can't get overly excited about them either. I'll mention two horses who I have really at my personal top 10 list, which isn't like a published thing, just exists in my head canon right now. But Sovereignty is still a horse I'm very interested in. 20 to 1 available, better than that available some places internationally, 20 to 1 at the sharpest book. Just a horse I'm very much keeping on the radar. And another one might be an interesting segue into the first race, or one of the first races we're going to talk about. I have not given up at all on Bullard. This is a horse who had some hype on him after that comeback run, actually seems to have fallen out of the consciousness of a lot of potential bettors on the anti-post side, out to 50 to 1, pretty much across the board, makes his return to the races this weekend. I think, let's put it this way, without spoiling my opinion of that race, could be a lot shorter than 50 to 1 after what we see this weekend. Those are two who are on my radar. But obviously, as you say, we got some time here to formulate it. It's going to be pretty much the number one topic over on our In the Money Media YouTube channel. We do encourage people to check out our content there. We'll be releasing a brand new top 10 video with our content producer, Eric DeCoster's top 10 horses, JK, and I going through those. That'll probably be out Monday or Tuesday. Folks want to check that out. Going to get some key information this weekend.
That's what I love about In the Money Media as well. It's so diverse. I mean, you have videos every day coming out. I mean, it's just a plethora of fantastic content. So please, I encourage everyone to check them out at In the Money Media. But yeah, I love Sovereignty. That's a very interesting pick. I very much respect. I had two on my radar as well. Of course, Chance McPatrick. I called him a future Hall of Famer. And like we were talking on the show, can he go the distance? And he might not, but this Tampa Bay Derby is going to be just a huge tell. I'm thrilled to watch that, but also journalism out there. Another Michael McCarthy, just like your Bullard, but to beat those Baffords out there at Los Al, I thought that was incredibly impressive as well. We'll see where he comes back next. He probably will be Santa Anita Derby, but I could be wrong. But anyway, today's show, all Oaks and Derby preps. Pete and I will be going over the Grade 2 Rebel Stakes and Grade 3 Honeybee at Oaklawn Park on Sunday and the John Battaglia Memorial Stakes at Turfway Park on Saturday night. So let's just start off with a bang with the 500K Grade 3 Honeybee Stakes this Sunday at Oaklawn. Remember, Friday's card moved to Saturday, Saturday's card moved to Sunday, Sunday's card moved to Monday at Oaklawn. This is the second 50-point race of the year on the road to the Kentucky Oaks, a mile and a 16th for 3-year-old fillies. Last year's winner was Lemon Muffin for the coach, D. Wayne Lucas, with Keith Asmussen aboard. Lemon Muffin won it by 3.5 lengths at odds of 28 to 1. Tappet Janelli finished second at 22 to 1. So there's lots of value to be made in the Honeybee. Fun fact about Lucas, he won the first 4 runnings of the Honeybee, 1988, 89, 90, and 91. And since 1991, 2 fillies have run in the Honeybee that went on to win the Kentucky Oaks, those being Secret Oath in 2022 and She Dares the Devil in 2020. Absolute fantastic field of 13 here. Pete, who is your play?
Oh, it's such a tricky race, as you point out. Muhima, I respect, but I'm not going to be with at the likely odds just because
I agree.
It's not like she has some huge edge on figures. She does on rep. And so I think that the morning line educated guess of 7-5, that's probably about right on her. And that's just too short for me in a race where there's so many ways to go. And she's going to have to work out a trip with so much other speed in the race. So with all that speed, I'm going to look to a horse who's going to be coming from far back. And the one that I'm interested in at the likely prices might be nuts here, but I'm still a bit of a believer in Quick Kick. She's going to have trained on. Yeah, I mean,
or quiet side, you mean?
Oh no, Quick Kick.
Quick Kick, the 5. Yes, sorry. The 5 with Tom Amos, of course.
Quiet Side is probably the more logical version in some ways. She can stalk and pass horses too, but Quick Kick with that back form, including a win over Quiet Side, I think has an opportunity to be heard from late. I mean, I wish she'd made more of a dent in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies, given how fast that was run, but she got lost a little bit early. It wasn't a smooth beginning, but the main angle here, when you're going from 2 to 3 or 3 to 4, you can see big improvement. 100 days can be a lifetime. I don't have any inside information that Quick Kick has trained on, I should add, but I think it's enough of a possibility, given the closing kick she's shown, given some of the stamina questions I have about some of the speedier runners in the field. I'm going to take a shot. Tom Amos going great guns at Oaklawn Park. There aren't many horsemen I respect more. She's my pick at a price in the Honeybee, but I mean, you could talk about half a dozen of these.
Yeah, you really could. And I mean, no knock on Muhima. I mean, on paper, I mean, she just looks just ridiculous. Should, run off on here. But I was also going with some value. Really interesting horse. Look forward. Michael McCarthy making a really interesting move. He rarely brings horses to Oaklawn. She's originally trained by the late, great Ben Cecil. And after he passed away not too long ago, Michael McCarthy took over. And Corey Patton is on the pod a lot. He brought this up, how rare it is to see a Ben Cecil trained horse win as a first-time starter. That's who he picked for the Grade 2 Starlet. And, she ran well, didn't win. Ran second, at odds of 7-1, but she earned a 91 Kobe speed figure. That was in early December, and she lost to Tenma, who won the Grade 1 Del Mar debutante and then just romped by 6.5 in the Grade 3 loss for Henes. I know that was a 3-horse race, but it was very impressive nonetheless. And then in the Starlet, she also beat Vaca with a twist, who finished second behind Immersive in that Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies, beating Quick. So, going back to look forward, this filly comes back next time out, then wins the Santa Ynez Stakes at Santa Anita, running another 91 Equibase speed figure, stalking in third for majority of that race as well. A little bit different than her front end running style, and just an epic stretch run in that Santa Ynez between Look Forward and Artisma, who just could not pass her. Looks like a really tough filly, honestly, on and off paper. Ranked first in here in average class with an 89, tied for first in average speed with a 91, with heavily favored Muhima. Now, trainer Michael McCarthy has never had a start at Oaklawn Park in his entire career. There it is.
Shocking.
Never. Yeah, I had to look that up on the Pramana Shift because our race lens only goes back 5 years, but this will be his first start. Well, I think the Carousel Stakes earlier in the card is, but right. Yeah, so this is a really interesting move. And, regardless of that, McCarthy's winning at 22% in graded stakes races with winners last time out. And Mario Gutierrez, same thing. In the last 5 years, one start at Oaklawn Park. And his only start on the entire Sunday is this horse. So I think that's huge, really telling. And 6-1, obviously we're getting that with Muhima being 7-5, but that could be a lock for me.
I think it's interesting. My only concern, it's so tough, on that stretch out with having to deal with Muhima and then hold off the closers. But there is a world in which she gets the right kind of trip. She settles nicely, even going the route of ground. I mean, I would definitely have her in the mix as well. She's very logical. And I do think you'll get something in that 4 to 8 to 1 range. I mean, I think 6 to 1 is as good a guess as any at a morning line, just because there's so many ways to go in this field.
Exactly. I wanted to hear what you thought about Take Charge Milady. I had a couple things written down, but she seemed interesting as well. But it kind of just seems like she's just been running against Anonyma, the other Kenny McPeak, and they've just kind of been beating each other.
I'm interested in her a little bit. I mean, I certainly wouldn't rule her out to any degree. I didn't come up with her because I was worried about her dealing with this, what I think is going to be a fairly supersonic pace. I think she's been able to lay very close in races with even paces or slow paces. Yeah. And so this time around, she's either going to have to come from farther back, which I think is probably the right thing to try. Good prep for the Oaks potentially anyway. But I also could see a world in which she ends up just being a little bit more in her customary close stalking position, and then is going to go so fast that it might take the sting out of her finish. I could be wrong. I don't mind her. I'd want her on deeper spreads, but that was my one question about her. I know Nick Tamara, who's frequently on the In the Money airwaves with me, suggested her as a possible Oaks future to international viewers at the current prices. I think she was over. Let me actually look so I don't say that incorrectly, but she's in the betting there, but definitely was a bit of a price, and he had made a comment. 16-1 is about her for that. So she's interesting, but more of a secondary contender for me is how
I agree. Especially with Muhima, which I think probably will win. And that you definitely got to add her for exotics. If you're going to do that in grade, doubles or pick threes. But look forward to 6-1. Just seems better to me than Take Charge Milady, especially at 9-2 morning line. So I'm going to be going with Flash or Look Forward. And there you go. Pete is going with Quick Kick. So there is your grade 3 Honeybee Stakes. And let's move on to the featured race of the week, the 1.25 million grade 2 Rebel Stakes at Oaklawn Park on Sunday, the second 50-point race of the year on the road to the Kentucky Derby, a mile and a 16th on the dirt for 3-year-olds. Last year's winner was Timberlake for trainer Brad Cox with Christian Torres aboard. Timberlake skipped last year's Kentucky Derby, but since 1991, there have been just 2 horses that ran in the Rebel before going on to the win in the Derby, those being Triple Crown winner American Pharoah in 2015 and Smarty Jones in 2004. Lots of legendary horses have won this race in the past. Lawyer Ron, Curlin, Looking at Lucky, Will Take Charge, Omaha Beach, to name a few. Very competitive field of 14 here on Sunday in Hot Springs, Arkansas. Pete, who do you got?
It's such an interesting race for all the reasons you pointed out. I did a full write-up of this race for my friends over at theraces.com that we'll also link to in the free In the Money Media newsletter, which is a good way to keep track of all our content. You can get that if you go to inthemoneypodcast.com/email. But I'm going to keep the faith, and I'm going to go with Bullard on the hope that this horse can realize his potential. This horse has been up near the top of the Kentucky Derby top 10 list that we do at In the Money for months. And I just didn't think he lost much in defeat in the San Vicente. He had license to be short in there and was ceding a major tactical advantage to Barnes. It's put up or shut up time for Bullard. Make no mistake. But I thought the recent works make him look headed in the right direction. So I'm going to be optimistic, and I'm going to hope that with so many ways to go in this, we are going to actually see 5-6-1, something on that order. I'm willing to give Bullard and Michael McCarthy another shot in this one. And like I said, I have a feeling he's not going to be 50-1 in the Derby futures for long.
Yeah, I agree. Bullard was really interesting. So I guess Michael McCarthy will be making his third career start with Bullard on Sunday at Oaklawn. What do you think about him stretching out to a wrap?
I mean, it's an open question on what we've seen on the racetrack, right? A 6 furlong effort, 2 7 furlong efforts, and he wasn't finishing quite as well as you would love the last day. But again, I think a lot of that was circumstantial. It was a short field. It was a speed bias. I think he tried to make a move to win the race and gassed out a little bit late. On the pedigree, gun runner, certainly
18% dirt routes.
offers up some hope that the pedigree is going to be okay. And then there's a little bit of in Michael McCarthy we trust as well with this horse. It's an open question, and even trainers as sharp as Michael can get, people can get Derby fever, and they can take the most optimistic view of how far their horses want to go. So open question, but one that I have at least enough hope to make it my pick in here that he's going to be able to answer in the alternative, in the affirmative, I should say.
Honestly, another thing I think you got going for you with Bullard is the fact that he didn't run that 105 last time out. Sometimes these young horses, they run that 105, 110, 100, whatever it is. It's so difficult to repeat that. And yes, he did regress to an 87 equibase speed figure in the San Vicente, but I mean, honestly, that might be a good thing,
right,
in the long run. So
yeah, just developmentally, I know what you mean. There can be like these fits and starts, and you don't want to peak too early on the road to the Derby. We've certainly seen that before.
Exactly. I love your pick. To me, I am going with the favorite. Luckily, it's a 4-1 morning line, but Sandman, $1.2 million purchase as a 2-year-old in training by West Point. Mark Cassidy training with Christian Torres aboard. Doesn't have the greatest winning percentage just meet at Oaklawn, meaning Christian Torres, but he did win this race last year, and he's been aboard Sandman the last two races, which were arguably his best races. Won an AOC 125 at Oaklawn in mid-December, running a 97. Takes 6 weeks off to come back. They ran second in the Southwest here at Oaklawn on January 25th. And I do want to show you this race here.
Oh, yeah.
Because this start is just wild. Okay.
Broken a tangle doesn't quite do it justice, does it?
I mean, he'll be the 6 here, and he'll take a step left and then jump way right. It's the weirdest thing, but here you go. So Speed King's going in there, the 10 on the outside, and then they'll get underway. Look at, like,
very more than a hop at the break. It was like a hop and a twist, and you can see,
and another step, and oddly enough, so I was actually during this race, I was on the American Best Racing live show down at the Pegasus, and we were watching with Terry Finley of West Point Thoroughbreds and Griffin Johnson, and as soon as he did that, Terry's like, "Oh my God!" Like he knew it over. But I mean, that horse laid last for most of the race, and just this huge run and just finished so strong. To finish second by just a length to Speed King, who had very, very easy fractions, 24 and a 49 almost. Anyway, I just think this race kind of sets up perfectly for Sandman. You got so much speed with Coal Battle, I think is going to go. Madaket Road might go. Innovator's definitely going to go. Admiral Dennis might go. Speed King's obviously going to go. So, if he can just lay off the pace and come from a huge rally just like he did in that Southwest, I think it's all him. And of course, I have to mention Mark Cassidy at Oaklawn. He also doesn't have a huge amount of stats there, but in the past 5 years, he wins at 35% in dirt routes. So 6 wins from 17 starts, but that's a plus 66% ROI. So
yeah, that's not nothing.
That's not nothing.
He'll be on every ticket for me. I mean, I really do like him. I mean, off that trip, he did tons of running in the stretch. And yes, Speed King definitely had an advantage, with the other speed not breaking in there. And Sandman probably needs a cleaner getaway, but
yeah,
I think a cleaner getaway, just more efficient run through, he's going to be heard from late. And I agree with you about the race shape in there. I mean, I like Bullard, but that would likely be my exact as some combination of 10 and 3.
Well, you know what? That's exactly what I've written down. It's 310. So,
we'll win or lose together.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. But regardless, just a fantastic race. And it would be cool to see Lonnie Briley win with Coal Battle. I would not be disappointed to lose to those connections at all. But anyway, there is your featured race of the week, the Grade 2 1.25 million Rebel. But last but not least, we do have the John Battaglia Memorial Stakes Saturday night at Turfway Park, a 20-point race on the road to the Kentucky Derby, mile and 16th on the all-weather for 3-year-olds. Last year's winner was Encino, who went on to win the Grade 3 Lexington Stakes at Keeneland and then was scratched from the Kentucky Derby. Encino actually had his first start back since the Lexington in April of 2024 on January 16th at Fairgrounds, winning the AOC. It's very cool to see him back on the track. Full field of 12 in here, plus 2 also eligibles up there in Old Florence, Kentucky. Speaking of Kentucky, just been a brutal stretch of weather here in Kentucky. So my heart goes out to all those been affected and lost their homes and communities out there in Eastern Kentucky. But yeah, let's move on to this John Battaglia. Fantastic race. I personally think First Resort is going to lose, but I would love to hear what you say.
He's not my pick. He has to be considered off that strong effort in the Kentucky Jockey Club. The 2 previous efforts at graded level, also solid. I mean, he's the horse that sets the standard. The problem is, and maybe this is where you're coming from, there's just a lot of questions. That was a very easy trip last time. Horse is making the synthetic debut. Now, the dam did run an 88 on the buyer scale on synth second out. So I'm guessing First Resort will handle the surface. But at the end of the day, at the prices, I probably want to use in some fashion, but I don't want to key, and I don't want to make my top choice. For me, I'm really interested in number 7, Baby Mountains.
Okay.
Are we in lockstep again?
We are locked on Baby. That might be my best bet of the weekend, honestly.
Looks really interesting. I mean, the Leonatus looks like really good form. We all saw Chunk of Gold run back so well in the Risen Star. The other angle here is the other runner to come back from that race so far, improved its figure 15, his figure 15 points. And then the other thing I really like about Max, I was talking in the other race about horses and how they're going to adapt to certain situations if they have to be farther back than they want to be or closer to a fast pace, etc. I don't have that worry with Baby Max because the horse is so versatile, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
he really is.
Up close last time, but has also come from farther back. I think farther back probably what's going to be required in this spot, but I think this horse is extremely interesting. What kind of price do you think we're going to get?
I actually think there's going to be a lot of the betting people, handicappers like ourselves, that are going to take note of that with how many question marks there are with First Resort. Another thing, Owen Hardy, excuse me, it's only 10% from 31 or 61 to 180 days coming back for a graded or a non-graded stake, excuse me. So there's a big question there as well. First time on the all weather. I don't know, and then so yeah, 61 a day layoff. So same with Poster. This is the grade 2 Remsen winner. And he lost in the Sam F. Davis, which he should have honestly probably ran off, on. So I think it's kind of a similar situation here with First Resort. Again, no knock on the horse. He looks by far the best in here, but Baby Max, I mean, ranked second in late pace rating, second in average class, and second in average speed, only to First Resort. And I think this horse was running in a little bit different types of races. He would be first in all those categories. Kelsey Daner and Abel Cedillo went at 38% together all time, 46% in the money with a plus 76% ROI. This is all time, very small, but 5 wins from 13 starts. So, I mean, Kelsey Danner is winning at 30% in non-graded stakes races at Turfway Park in the last 3 years. 3 wins from 10 starts. I know people knock me for these small sample sizes, but sometimes just that's what they are, So the numbers on this horse just look incredible. And when he finally hit that all-weather track, I mean, he kind of became like a different horse.
The thing about small sample stats is, I mean, you have to be careful, right?
Yeah.
You can't bank on them in every opportunity, but sometimes they're just an indication of something that you're going to be able to capitalize on in the short term before the public. When it's a large sample stat, then it's also in everybody's brain. If you can come up with a reason, and jockey trainer can often be a great reason where the horse is live when they reach out for X jockey. I mean, I think it's smart. I mean, I probably wouldn't make a lot of bets solely based on small sample stats, but they will make me take a bigger swing or take more of a stand. Because when you can get out ahead of a trend like that, it's just worth a lot more than when everybody sees a certain trainer start to meet, 8 for 13 or whatever. Give me a shot when they're 2 for their first 5 and then 2 other long shots, ran fourth, and you can get ahead before everybody's in on it. You know what I mean?
I love that. That's such a great way of thinking. Yeah, you're kind of getting ahead before it begins, and everybody knows. So, very interesting. But honestly, besides those 2 horses, the 10 was a little bit interesting, coming in hot. What I didn't like is Irving Moncada choosing. Who did he choose? The 5, California Burrito. Yep. California Burrito does look interesting as well, but I think he might just need the lead. It just came down to those 2 horses for me is Baby Max and First Resort.
They were the 2 I mentioned on the show. I tried to make California Burrito, but couldn't quite get there and commit. And yeah, I mean, I'm trying to see if you wanted to pull in something at a very big price. I mean, maybe a runner like Calling Card on the switch in surface. That's a game Mike Maker is very good at. The horse did make a little bit of a middle move in the Lecomte, in the slop. I mean, if that horse just gets lost in the betting, I could see it if you made me give a third. But on the podcast I did, we covered this race. We were fortunate to have Caitlin Free join us on the flagship Players Pod, and I only talked about the same 2 that you like. So yeah, it's definitely true. We're going to win or lose together on this Saturday. Let's hope it's win.
Let's hope it's Baby Max. Well, thank you, Pete, so much for being on. This has just been a blast.
Always a pleasure. Anytime, my friend. Anytime you're hard up for a guest, you know who to call. And like I said, we're going to bring you on the In the Money airwaves soon as well. Really appreciate the work you're doing, and your enthusiasm and approach to the game are something that are infectious.
Well, thank you. That means the world to me. I really do appreciate that. And thank you, everybody, so much for watching. Good luck in your wagers this weekend. We'll see you next week.